Ladies and gentlemen, there's only one thing for us really to talk about today, and that is the hubris of the ANC, specifically in relation to Donald Trump, and actually its American allies. But in any case, before we get on to the main news stories, yet again, can I remind you, please hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. Anyway, let's get into the stories. So what is it? Well, apparently Aaron, also known as Moron, is moaning that apparently Washington didn't reach out to him and tell him about the aid funding cut. Now, this I find rather amusing because for those of you who do recall, when South Africa had the whole Lady R debacle and Washington was reaching out to the South African government, the calls basically largely went unanswered. In fact, this actually happens quite a lot. We frequently see programs that are with the United States, and the United States does reach out to our government asking for clarification on what the current positions are and so forth. And what inevitably ends up happening is that Washington gets no responses. In fact, we see this to a lot of government programs. A lot of the government programs just go without any action until the final deadline. Let's use the example of the current steel mill about to close. That's also been with the Minister of Trade for some time, and now that we're getting to D-Day, all of a sudden everybody's jumping up and down going, oh, we didn't know, except they've been contacted for like nearly 2 years. So it's amusing that Moron now thinks that Washington should be jumping to his tune, as if somehow South Africa is a bigger player and a more important player than the United States. Because he said that basically he found out about the funding cuts through basically NGOs. Nobody contacted him, and he's reached out to the embassy trying to get clarification, and he can't because nobody's returning his calls. And there's a reason for this, buddy. Because you're insignificant. Who the hell are you? They don't care about you anymore. See, this is what happens when countries become nationalistic. They look internally, and then small little peanut galleries like yourself don't matter to them anymore. You see, the biggest problem is even when you read the article and you read the things that Moron says, he seems to think that the money around the world is his own personal slush fund. It's like, we all just put this money out there and we can just withdraw the money and use it for our own internal programs. Except that's not what happens. You see, the largest funder in the world of all these organizations, WHO, international AIDS funds, whatever else, all comes from the US. And so when you treat the US like a jobbo, like their money's yours to spend, and you find out that it isn't, yeah, it hurts, huh? It hurts really, really bad. Let's go on to the second story. Actually, this is around SpaceX, specifically around Elon Musk's desire to have Starlink in South Africa. And he's basically said, and he said it directly, that BEE ownership rules are currently a significant barrier to international satellite operators in South Africa. Now, you see, it's not just Starlink that has this problem. It's also Amazon, because Amazon also have their own programs. And both parties have said that whilst BEE, this 30% give us your equity rules are in South Africa, well, they're not going to set up here. So Starlink has asked INCASA if they will consider alternatives. They've said, can we consider an alternative structure whereby we invest 30% into potential, local funds, programs that allow, transformation or what, but we're not prepared to give 30% of our company. Now, INCASA said that they would have public reviews and consultations to see whether or not the licensing rules could be changed. But you see, it's interesting because this is the first time that Elon Musk has come out directly and said, BEE is the problem. We've all known it for some time. It's kind of like the elephant in the room that nobody really talks about. But at the end of the day, we all knew was a problem. And now it's out there in the open. And we did say in the last couple of videos that we made, the United States is gunning for us. Because if we want to play on the international field, we're going to have to adopt their rules now. The days of following the silly little rubbish that the local administrations want to apply, they're done. The US now is going to take a hard approach on South Africa. And our Colombia moment is coming. So let's get on to the final news story. And that is, it's not all doom and gloom, guys. Because at the end of the day, we could soon become a colony of Rwanda. It might not necessarily be the worst thing to happen. And this is actually in relation to the spat going on between South Africa and Rwanda in relation to the soldiers killed in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, for those of you who don't know, South Africa has a peacekeeping corps up there. I don't know why it's a peacekeeping corps, and I don't know why we're in, the Democratic Republic of Congo, apart from it's a war zone. Well, Rwanda's there as well, and they're also getting involved. Now, there's been some possibly friendly fire, we're not entirely sure, where some South African soldiers have been killed. And this has actually highlighted the state of the South African army in Rwanda. And that is, it's not prepared. The guys are fat, they're overweight, they've got no machinery, they've got no radios, they've got no air support, they've got nothing. We sent soldiers there with some rifles and some, makeshift shack tents, and we said, well, get on with it. And the soldiers aren't in a very good state. So as a result, the soldiers are dying. And this has led politicians such as Julius Malema to say, we're actually sending them to their prearranged death. And this is the only time I actually agree with Julius. He's just kind of right on that front. Because when you send soldiers out to a war zone and you don't prepare them, you are basically signing their death warrant. But in typical fashion, South Africa doesn't care. Now, the initial suggestion was that the actual friendly fire came from Rwanda. They're saying that M23, an organization backed by Rwanda, were responsible for the deaths of these soldiers. And Rwanda said, no, we weren't. So they spoke to Cyril Ramaphosa, and he said, yeah, it actually came from the army of the Congo. But then he seemed to backtrack on that, in typical fashion, and then seemed to say, actually, it was Rwanda's fault. And now the entire thing has kind of escalated to the point where parties are threatening war. Yep, we're threatening war with Rwanda. Yeah, I mean, in one respect, Cyril's saying, oh, we must silence the guns of the continent. And then in the next breath, he's peeing people off, almost declaring war against an ally. Now, you see, the problem is that we've actually been on a difficult relationship with Rwanda for some time, because Rwanda actually went into Mozambique in order to quell some problems that had been going on there, specifically terrorist problems and so forth. In South Africa, they actually thought that Rwanda was stepping into its territory because it's its neighbor, it's not Rwanda's. You think Rwanda takes their position as an African leader rather seriously, because what they want to do is eventually get to a point where they actually outshine South Africa as the shining beacon of Africa as a whole, as the most industrialized place, the people you go through in order to negotiate peace. And the president of Rwanda has actually said South Africa needs to stay in its lane now. It's just a small little regional place where nothing really happens. They don't have the might or the power to get involved in peace negotiations. They should just shut up and worry about their own thing. And I think most of you who listen to that is probably going to go, yeah, they probably should. Because South Africa no longer has an army, so per se. I mean, we have an army, but we've got like two jets. Two jets that work, the rest of them are broken. The equipment is not maintained. If you look at the actual tent structures and the way that a lot of the soldiers are living, it's like squatter camp levels. It's really not clean. And this isn't how you should be treating your soldiers. I mean, their lives are on the line. You should be backing them, but none of that happens. In typical fashion, there's no money. There's nothing being provided to them. We just send them out and hope for the best. Now, the problem is, to a large degree, that Cyril Ramaphosa fired back and said, Rwanda doesn't have an army. They just got like a local militia. It's a small little rubbishy country. And that's really upset Rwanda, because they're saying that what Cyril Ramaphosa is doing is actually undermining who they are as a people. And they've said very clearly, if you doubt who we are, we'll show you who we are on the battlefront. And then we'll see who wins. And you see, this is the president we got. Big mouth, ignores everyone. It's just upsetting people left, right, and center. Is it any wonder that even the MK party, yes, ladies and gentlemen, you heard me right, even the MK party is saying, if only we had a Donald Trump of our own. Because this guy, even the leader of Rwanda, says looks weak. He doesn't make decisions. Everything he does is weak. Other countries notice it too. It's not just us. In any case, that's just my views. You can let me know what you think in the comment section below. Until next time, bye.